I hope I won't struggle with connection. Load shedding stage 6, brought to you courtesy of the ANC-led government. So I want to have a conversation with you guys, and I'm hoping it will be as interactive as possible. I don't know much about electricity. I know a little bit about a little bit, and I think I'm making this video because I'm hoping you guys can maybe school me or correct me where I may be wrong, may or may not be wrong. In the last week or 2 weeks, we had stage 6 load shedding, and there are times when the electricity will go for 4 hours at a time, and it will be one of maybe 3 sessions in a day. One will be 4 hours, one will be 2 hours, another one will be 2 hours. We're in a tough energy space as a country of South Africa, and it's unprecedented. It's the things we take for granted, like running water, you know. Who would have thought? 1994, who would have thought we'd be here where like we don't have power for hours in a day? Businesses are collapsing because of power, and it's thanks to the ANC government. Obviously, there's other aspects of their governance which are pretty crap. Management of the roads, public transport, crime, social welfare, the economy, jobs, and inability to create a stimulating economy because they have destroyed some of the colleges that taught skills. They've destroyed textiles, parts of the manufacturing industry, and it seems like it was mostly for personal gain, and arguably maybe it was to serve some of the interests of rich white people from apartheid colonization, or maybe some foreign entities, America, Europe, the Chinas, or the Asias of this world. Here to speak about energy and electricity. We've had load shedding for, I think this is going to be our 16th year in 2023. It's like teenager, like an old teenager, like ready to go work. Some of you guys have got children that are not even 16 yet. Some of you don't have children, you know. Some of you might be 18, 19, and you're actually 16 just now. There are kids that were born into load shedding. They kind of know no other life except load shedding. I'm 36, so 20 years of some type of stability, and in past 15, 16 years. When you start doing the research, because we think we know what's happening in this country, but we don't. There's so much we don't know. Thabo Mbeki, when he was president of South Africa, he took over from Nelson Mandela, tried to sell Eskom with the ANC. They failed. I haven't gone into the details of why they failed, but you can go on the internet, you can research. Thabo Mbeki's ANC tried to sell Eskom back then, and they failed. His deputy president was Jacob Zuma. Along with that, they got a report stating that, look, Eskom needs aggressive maintenance and new power plants are going to be needed, because understand, people say this all the time, the apartheid government wasn't necessarily building for the black masses. It was building for a white minority, and then here and there, the black masses, because they needed to be employees, there were certain parts of development. So if you look in certain townships, there's certain houses that were built by the apartheid government. And we used to laugh at those houses. Today, those houses have stood strong and firm, better than newer RDPs built by the ANC government. They would have these, I think they called Apollo, these huge floodlights. That's what you do when you're like in a prison, because like the townships were designed like prisons. One way in, one way out, easy to surveil. They all kind of designed the same in South Africa and across the continent. They were meant, so the apartheid government built largely for a minority. The ANC government taking over was meant to have a plan. Because the apartheid government had built for a minority, they needed to plan for a majority. How do we build more roads? Because the black people are going to become economically active. How do we ensure that we have more power, more energy? So if there was an Eskom for 10%, 20% of the population, how do we build 5 more Escoms to serve this economy that's going to boom? How do you develop the townships and other spaces, not just the suburbs and the urban areas, but patches of land that are going to be built into new towns and new cities so that black people can spread themselves out? And how do you capacitate the masses to be able to farm, to be able to manufacture, to be able to be proper economic players and build the big companies of tomorrow? We see now, almost 30 years into ANC rule, that there was never a plan, or if there was a plan, we don't know it. Because there's a lot of patchwork now, and you're like, but did you guys not know? Did you guys not know that this was going to happen? How do we get to load shedding? So Thabo Mbeki, the report came to him and his deputy president. They didn't act on it. Years later, boom, load shedding. Jacob Zuma, during his administration as president, I'm not sure if he placed Brian Molefe at Eskom, but Brian Molefe was there under Jacob Zuma's tenure. Matsila Koko was the CEO at some point. They managed to stop load shedding for 2 years. People still speak about it now. I think it may have been 2016, 17. The years may be wrong, but for 2 years there was no load shedding. This came at a high cost. Money had to be loaned, and they kind of kept the ship steady for 2 years. The accusations now, when people speak about Jacob Zuma's 9 years, is that there was a lot of looting, corruption, the Guptas. The Guptas were given vendor financing by Brian Molefe and Eskom. And according to them, this is standard practice where you guys identify a potential supplier who can be valuable to your operation, and you give them funding to almost start their business, to acquire assets, equipment. Something similar could be, let's say you want to buy a McDonald's franchise. No, Pick n Pay did something, I think, similar to this. So you want to buy a Pick n Pay franchise, a McDonald's franchise, and they recognize that you are talent and you will make them money. So they say, listen, we will give you the money to start your business and then you will pay us off. A lot of the BEE deals under the National Empowerment Fund, the NEF, the PIC, the Public Investment Corporation, a lot of those BEE deals was literally black people being given money to go and buy into an existing business, to start a business, given money that they didn't have, no success, go start this thing. So the Guptas were given this vendor financing, go buy this mine because you guys are going to supply us with coal. And true to the story, as far as the reports are, the Guptas were supplying good quality coal to Eskom at a reduced price than some of the older incumbent suppliers. Some of these suppliers came from the apartheid days, and they had what we learned were called evergreen contracts. And those evergreen contracts never expire. We've got contracts today, a tender is 3 years, it's 12 months, it's 5 years. These contracts never expired, and even after the ANC took over, these were never changed. Brian Molefe and Matsila Koko have spoken about this, and they say there's certain things they refused to sign at the time, and that's the reason why they believe and they claim they were washed out, drained out. And even today, Cyril Ramaphosa's administration has accused them. They currently were charged, Brian Molefe and Matsila Koko as well, of corruption and those things. And there was a story at some point of Matsila Koko being involved in a deal that benefited his stepdaughter, I believe. Gupta supplied cheap coal. I'm not here to defend the Guptas. They may have gone against regulation. They may have looted money. I don't know. All I know is when you look at the data, I think they may have been supplying 3% of the coal to Eskom. 3%. That was to a state-owned enterprise. According to reports, the Guptas never did tenders. Unlike, let's say, a Bidvest, where Cyril was chairperson at some point. Unlike Marion Roberts, which is Construction Group 5. Unlike an Aspen, which got the monopoly initially on ARVs, antiretrovirals. I think they've been shared with more people now. And they were kind of given the monopoly on the COVID vaccine with Johnson & Johnson. Gupta's 3% is SO to Eskom as an SOE. They stopped load shedding, and I'd like to think they loaned money, because after they left, there were a couple of CEOs, and then Andre the Rater came in. Andre the Generator. Andre the Rater came in. And Andre the Rater came in and found 400 billion rand worth of debt, which had been accumulated because of load shedding, because of tenders, because of other maladministration. I don't know if, no, not even I don't know. So if you look at the reports again, Brian Molefe, when the Eskom was under his leadership, managed to turn Eskom around and started making a profit. So obviously, to people that don't know financial statements, that sounds very exciting, and it may be so. But I was an accounting major. I signed with Ernst & Young, one of the big 4-5 accounting auditing firms in South Africa. I studied accounting and auditing at an honors level. I understand that you can engineer financial statements to look good. I worked in banks, so we do this bad debt provisioning and other financial engineering, so that we either take a profit or a loss, depending on who wants to get bonuses, or however accountants and other financial people fuck around with numbers, to not be honest. So again, I don't know the details. I never looked at the financial statements at the time, but Brian Molefe was reported to have turned it around and reflected a profit. But that profit could have looked in a certain way as if it was a profit when maybe it wasn't. We don't know. 400 billion worth of debt. Money that the South African government constantly needed to bail out Eskom with, because they are, I believe they still are the majority shareholder. I don't know if there are any others. State-owned enterprises, government becomes the majority shareholder. SABC, the same. SA8 used to be the same before Pravin Gordhan sold it for 51 Rand to Takats, or whatever the consortium's name is. So Andre the Rater managed to lower some of the debt. I don't know if it was by 50 billion or 100 billion. But that doesn't really help, because he cut it down, but also gave us the worst year and a half, 2 years of load shedding in the 15-year history. Bulk of last year, there was load shedding. Not sure of the dates. You can go online and check now. It might be something ridiculous like 200 days. 200 out of 365 days, we were load shed as a country. We were in darkness. Something unprecedented and mind-blowing, especially coming out of COVID lockdown, where we kind of had power-ish. It wasn't that bad. Like, what the fuck changed? What happened? Conspiracy theories are that it's Jacob Zuma's RET faction, Radical Economic Transformation faction, the Esma Hashules, DT Mabuzas of this world. They're the ones sabotaging, and they wanted Andre the Rater to be a failure. Andre the Rater's track record is not great. The companies he was in, people have said he did a shit show of them. So we don't know how good he was. And he came in not an engineer, chief operating officer, not an engineer. Why are these guys here? Matila Koko, engineer, and he could explain electricity properly. 400 billion, cut it down, but here we are. So before I speak about where we are now, most people don't know the link between coal and when you click a switch and the power comes on. We need coal to make electricity. Don't need coal to generate electricity. You do not need coal to generate electricity. What do we need to generate electricity? That's a nice way to put it. You know, like we like being articulate and sounding smart. So we don't need coal to generate electricity. The reason why coal is sold to Eskom is because the coal is needed to be burnt. Why is it burnt? It's burnt so that they can boil water. The coal at Eskom is sold to Eskom so that Eskom can boil water. So we need water for electricity? No, we don't need water for electricity. And why are we boiling the water? We're boiling the water so there can be steam. Steam, electricity. Why do we have steam? We actually have steam so that it can turn turbines. This is where now we speak about electricity generation. Electricity is made with turbines spinning and magnets. The turbines, the magnets, are the ones that generate the electricity that you have. But to spin these turbines, there are various ways to do it, of which it has come out that coal is the cheapest. So there's wind power, of course, these turbines. There's water, I don't know if that's called hydroelectricity, to turn turbines. There's other ways, but essentially coal is the cheapest because as a fossil fuel, it's cheap and it burns the longest to boil this water so that we can have steam to turn the turbines, and this water can be cooled down, used as water again, and you keep boiling it. So when they were saying at some point, no, the coal is wet, they were talking about the coal used to boil water for steam. But now that's not the only way to have electricity or energy, as you guys probably know by now. To spin turbines, like I said, there's various ways. Other ways of energy creation. Gas, of which gas is energy, but not electricity. Gas, you use it for like, let's say for example, you wanted it to spin turbines. Again, gas, chemical, boiling water, whatever. But mostly in our homes, we use it for fire, for a stove, to cook, compressed gas, which you spark. Same with the gas heater. So we normally use it for fire. You could obviously use that gas and spark it and then burn something. But once it's out there, it's gone. And gas is kind of more dangerous than just coal fire. There's generators, which have their own turbines. Put fuel, you put diesel, you put petrol, start this thing up like sparking an ignition in a car, and then it starts going, boy. And it generates power through these turbines, which then generate power energy for you. A lot of people also don't know the link between the sun and electricity. Let's get solar. So the sun doesn't generate electricity. We get our electricity from a battery under solar. The electricity comes from, you know, the battery you put in your remote, the battery you put in a shaver, the battery. Even the battery you put in your car, which is linked to an alternator, which ensures that the battery is continuously being charged as you drive. So solar power is literally a battery. But that battery is not plugged into Eskom and the coal that I spoke about. That battery is linked to solar panels, which take the sun's energies. I think there's neutrons and protons. I don't know the science. I've also just been learning or relearning the stuff because it's important, because we have an energy crisis in South Africa. Solar energy, the panels take the neutrons, the protons, and then they find their way to charge this battery. Very expensive battery. And of course, you need the sun to be out there. We're relatively a sunny country. If we had a lot of rain, gloomy days, it wouldn't kind of work. Obviously, in places like the deserts, Middle East, perfect places for solar farms. So solar power is just a battery powering your house. There's inverters. Inverters to some degree are also batteries. But you plug these ones onto your main power grid, where when you have Eskom on, it charges this battery, and then once the electricity goes off, it converts this battery power, and it feeds it back into your system so that it can power your house or a portion of your house, whatever the case may be. There are people with like small inverters which are connected to a car battery, which again charged by Eskom power, so that your battery has power. In your car, it's a combination of that battery, and also because you're using diesel or petrol and the alternator, obviously you've got that combo to generate energy so that your car can move. If you're using an electric car, of course you plug it in. You know, shout out to Elon Musk and Tesla. I think China might still be the country that sells the most electric vehicles. I think, yeah, EVs, the most electric vehicles. It's just America's good at branding. So you might think America sells the most and Elon Musk invented, no such thing. And Tesla wasn't even his company. He joined it after it had been founded. But obviously he turned it into the monster that it is today. Batteries, generators, inverters, rechargeable lamps obviously use power. It's almost like an inverter where there's a battery inside. If you ever open them, there's like, battery. Blocks, there's these really dope wind-up radios. I've actually never studied how the energy works, but I can guess. Like I said with the turbines, so there's probably a motor inside there that if you wind it up, it's like a turbine, so it probably charges it. that mini turbine motor with magnets, and then it probably powers your radio for a little bit. There's wind-up torches as well. There's these torches that you put in front of a bicycle, and for the kinetic energy when you're cycling charges this battery as well, which again, it's a magnet. I don't know if there's a turbine, but with the kinetic energy, we'll say that's the turbine. That's energy. These are conversations we're meant to be having as ordinary South Africans, because we are in Kakstraat and we're meant to be like, okay, shout out to Hendrik van der Bijl, my favorite South African of all time, who was commissioned by, I think it was Jan Smuts. Hendrik van der Bijl, South African gent, went to go and study in Germany, went to work in America, engineer, was commissioned to come back to South Africa. The state was like, we'll fucking give you all the money you want, boy. Come make South Africa an autonomous state that doesn't need external energy and. Hendrik van der Bijl came through, built Eskom. There were some smaller energy generating companies, very expensive. But the state was like, build this thing so that it powers the country and it powers industry, and it's going to be not for profit. Unlike Eskom today. Back then, Eskom was not for profit. It was just so that it powers the economy. It's like one of the thoughts I've thought, like if you were going to say school is an investment into the education and skills of people that power the economy, why is school not free? Why do you have to pay school fees if the product of the school is someone who's going to make money in the economy and then pay tax? But it's because you realize that school doesn't do that. And the capitalists realize that the products that are coming out are not making us enough money. So fucking charge them then, and then exploit them in work and fucking tax them as well. It's a fucking broken system, exploitative system. We think we're out of slavery, but they've just made it very, very higher grade. So that you guys with your little trinkets, with your little GTI and your little flat, with your little bond and your little credit card and your nice little tie, driving to work, sitting in traffic, you think you're free, but you're not. You're just in a different type of slavery where you're not wearing a shackle and there's no whip on your back. The whip on your back now is credit. The shackle around your neck and your legs or your ankles is credit. And it's you feeling like, if I don't have money, I won't have a place to sleep. If I don't have money, I can't travel. If I don't have money, I can't get food. If I don't have money, I can't pay my kids' fees. If I don't have money, I'll die because I won't be able to afford healthcare. It's a mess. It's people that support capitalism. Some of my friends, some of my mentors, capitalism is a fucked up system. And that's not to say socialism, communism is better. They are arguably worse because they are not in line with nature. Nature is about the person that works hard must reap the benefits. If I plant a seed and I water it and I weed it, I must yield the fruit. The problem with capitalism, well, communism, socialism is like people must benefit regardless if they're fucking scratching their bums. What we have in this country today, 30 million grant recipients that don't work for shit. They just have to fucking breathe. And those of us that work have to break our backs feeding them, which is bullshit. But capitalism is not much better because it has created this system where you force the middle class to plant the seeds, to water them, to fertilize them, to do all the great things. And then when this tree bears fruit, you take 100 of the fruit, and then you give your employees, your 10 employees, one apple to share amongst them. And then when they're starving, you're like, okay, listen, I'll borrow you another apple, but then you're going to have to work harder next year. It's a fucking bullshit system. Sorry, I got carried away. Energy, electricity, Hendrik van der Bijl. Oh, Hendrik, my maat. Came and he built Eskom. They came and they built Eskom so that they could beneficiate or work their own steel instead of just pulling out iron ore from the ground. Eskom has been sold to Lakshmi Mittal's Mittal Steel, which I think is the biggest, if not the second biggest steel company in the world. Lakshmi Mittal is an Indian billionaire. I think he's currently based in London. And I remember his business was being handed over to his son. Very capable, competent, has been working in the business since he was young. Graduated magna cum laude from some prestigious business school in America. Great story. But we've lost Eskom. Arms Corps, so that we could manufacture our own weapons as a country. The Afrikaners were onto something. They were industrializing, they were building. And I sometimes wonder if they're not the ones that destroyed and dismantled everything they built after 1990, 1994, because they were like, there's no fucking way we're going to give the K words. I can say because I'm black. There's no way we're going to give the Kafirs this fucking functional country so they look good. So destroy this fucking thing. It would make sense. Why would you give your supposed enemy like the ammunition that you guys have built? Of course you didn't build it yourself. You exploited the same black people to help you build. And obviously you came into this country and you dominated them. But for all intents and purposes, let's say it was your leadership and your whatever. And now you're handing it over so that they look good. Fuck that. So that's one of the theories. But outside of that theory, the ANC inherited a functioning country, a functioning economy. The Afrikaners had even mentioned, Sasol is another amazing one, so that we could refine our own oil and create our own petroleum and petroleum products. The ANC inherited this, and in 28 years they've done a shit show. So again, people could say, yeah, but there are people that have made their lives difficult. And my answer to that is, if you are a leader, you cannot have excuses. If you're like, yeah, but guys, we are being sabotaged, it is up to you as the leader to find the people sabotaging you, punish them, get rid of them, and solve the problems. And if you're going to keep using the excuse of, yeah, but that means you're not the right leader. That means we need to get someone who is able to fight white supremacy, able to fight white Afrikaner racists, able to fight white British colonialists. And if you're going to keep using that as an excuse, yeah, but because of apartheid, it's a legacy of apartheid, clearly you're not the right person. We need the person who's going to tell us, yes, there was a legacy of apartheid, but we're fucking working on it. We're fixing the townships. We're expanding more towns, more cities so that the black majority can get to work and make this country a top nation. And stop making excuses. That's leadership. That's accountability. If you watched Wakanda Forever like I did, great movie. The leader of the supposed bad guys in the movie, the Talukan, the leader of the Talukan brings in the Wakandans and they stab them in the back. And his first speech, speaking to his people, is taking accountability, saying, I let these people in and they disappointed us. I will take it upon myself to fix it. The ANC government never takes accountability. It is always someone else's fault. Always. Apartheid government might be the foreigners today. Tomorrow it might be, no, these people sabotaged. The next day they're blaming each other because of factionalism. The day after that, it's white business people that are moving their money offshore. They know it's the East. No, it's the West. No, it's Europe. No, it's because of the Rand. No, always with excuses. Never, guys, this is on us. Cyril Ramaphosa, guys, this is on me. I'm really sorry. We will try and work on this. And anywhere there's an issue, we will let you know. And once we feel like we are failing, we will move out of the fucking way. Because clearly we don't know what we're doing. 15 years of load shedding. At some point, you have to say, Broer, hey, we tried, guys. Sihlulekile. Cyril Ramaphosa, without going too much into his history, comes from a union background, studied law. It's kind of handpicked. You can actually even find that in the history. Handpicked by some of the mining bosses to come and lead this union. And anyone that understands union bosses and the companies that they're supposed to fight against know how close the union bosses and the bosses of those companies are. And a lot of these union bosses, once they leave their union, they actually end up becoming shareholders and board members of these companies because in effect, they were always there for themselves. Fast forward, country comes in, democracy, Cyril decides to go into business. He chairs the BEE commission and he becomes one of the first big beneficiaries. Sits on all these fucking boards, etc., etc. Cyril, even before he came back as deputy president under Jacob Zuma, was doing business with Eskom. They set up I think it's a SPV, special purpose vehicle, if not some new company, with Glencore, Shanduga and Glencore, and Cyril, I don't know if he was the chairperson or one of the directors, so that they could supply coal to Eskom. And right after he came in as deputy president, he didn't relinquish that. He was in the war room at Eskom to try and resolve these things where Glencore was selling coal at a premium, while the Guptas, who have been blamed along with Jacob Zuma for 9 wasted years, they were selling coal cheaply to Eskom. Cyril and Glencore were selling it at a premium. And I've said before, I've made a video before that, where I think Cyril and his advisors have gotten this right. Maybe it's his law background, maybe it's his business mates, whatever. A lot of these other African leaders and elsewhere in the world are maybe not as smart and as strategic. And they maybe don't understand capitalism as intelligently as Cyril and his mates. That's why they were caught for fines. I don't know if, or for bribes, sorry. I don't know if Glencore was fined 1 billion, 1.5 billion, or if the 1.5 billion was how much, or they paid hundreds of millions in bribes, hundreds of millions of dollars in bribes. And I think they were punished 1 billion, 1.5 billion. These big companies don't care. It's like in South Africa with the Competition Commission. They kind of have a budget. It's like you, if the traffic cops stop you, mesuvula cabinet lapha, uvuli ashtray, keep 50 rand, 100 rand. Aw, mnumama, uyaxolisa, awusikhulu sami, hey. You've got a budget for fucking driving recklessly. So it's kind of the same thing with some of these big businesses. Why was South Africa not included? It could be that they were, but we haven't found out. But when you're intelligent, what you do with companies that are supposed to bribe is you go and you put someone on their board or on some company where they are paid fees. Those fees, when you look at them, might be the exact amount as other bribes or even more. But for the fact that it's open, there is full disclosure, it's above board, it's fine. The fact that you're selling coal at a premium in a country that's seeing fucking flames doesn't matter. The bottom line is when you look at the minutes of the board meetings, if you look at the resolutions, you're like, oh, but it's there, it's written. I mean, the auditors saw this. Where's the conflict of interest? Who the fuck cares? Who the fuck cares? Cyril, and he was chairman of Bidvest, which is probably the biggest entrepreneur in this country. So he, in inverted commas, went and he put his little Shanduga company, investment company, where white people gave him shares for doing fuck all, but ensuring that the ANC removes red tape, gives them funding, etc. He put that under the custodianship and the care of Phuthuma Nhleko under Pembani. Pembani has shares in Engine and some mines, etc., etc. I'd like to think Cyril is still, just like he was doing with Phala, still running some of those deals through Phuthuma Nhleko and Pembani. And I think there's probably a link with Zigo Investments, Asandile Zungu, and some of the other guys at the Black Business Council. It's capitalism. Some of us can be angry and sour. It's capitalism. There's a lot of countries where business and politics have got this incestuous relationship. The reason why it's frustrating in this country is because while these guys are doing all of this cuck, the country is going to shit. Let Cyril be corrupt. Let Jacob Zuma be corrupt. Let Jacob Zuma bring in fucking Indians, the Guptas. Let Ace Magashule be involved in tenders in the Free State and Didi Mabuza be a mafia in Mpumalanga. Let Supra Mumapilo in the Northwest. Let them run rampant. But can we have nice clean roads with no potholes? Can we have functioning schools that teach skills? Can we have functioning energy and electricity? Can we have businesses that are working and are being funded and that can export? Can our tax be reasonable? Can we have little social welfare for the poorest of the poor, but for the rest, they at work? Can we at least have that? Can you guys not be fucking making money while the country's falling to shit? Such a small thing to ask for. And can you put the country first and stop selling us to Germany and the United Kingdom and to the United States and to China and to Japan and whoever the fuck else is going to give you guys money? It's upsetting. Cyril, Phuthuma Nhleko comes in, new dawn of fucking darkness. New dawn comes in, Pravin Gordhan is there, Gwede Mantashe, Nomkhaba is there, Bheki Cele, who we actually thought was a respectable timer, is looking like a fucking clown with crime looking horrible. The media protects Cyril, but it does not protect the ANC. They make it too obvious. The media wants us to respect them, but they make it too obvious. The same things, some of the same things Jacob Zuma did, Cyril is doing, but Cyril never gets blamed. There's never like a 4 wasted years. Never. When there's corruption and Glencore, and when there's 500 billion, some of the COVID relief money, look, never Cyril. It's the ANC. Anything happens under the Zuma administration, Zuma, they still haven't been able to pin anything on him directly. Zuma. Cyril, you can see, but this guy was there at Bidvest. This guy was there with Glencore. This guy was doing this. Oh, but his brother-in-law is there getting IPP licenses from his... It's clear there. No, the ANC is corrupt. Cyril is... Hey, you guys can go fuck yourselves, man. I guess we have to appreciate you because, I mean, we get to be an alternative voice on social media, and precisely because mainstream media has become garbage. It was probably garbage before, but we were probably too ignorant and very sheltered. Some of us are waking up now. We can see through the bullshit. And we made the mistake of reading your Animal Farms and your 1984s by George Orwell. Please go read George Orwell's 1984. It is the most important book you will ever read in your life. At least that's my opinion. More important than the Bible, more important than the Quran, than the Torah, than the writings of Buddha. More important than your fucking constitution. 1984 by George Orwell paints a serious picture of how the real fucking world works in this system. The fact that, what's the greatest quote? He who controls the past controls the future. He who controls the past controls the future. He who controls the present controls the past. That last one is so important. He who controls the present, what does that mean? It means if you're in power now, as happens in the book in 1984, you can alter the history books and the science books. And you can say, no man, we were actually wrong. Pluto is not a planet. Oh no, actually Pluto is a planet. No, Mars is red. No, Mars is actually not red. No, there's gravity. No, there isn't gravity. No, according to data, it's 67%. No, new research has found that it's not 67%. It's actually 22%. Oh, no, this is how a virus behaves. No, actually, a virus doesn't behave like that. We've got a new intel that viruses actually can't behave like this. Because you control the present. And therefore, Shaka can be a hero or a villain. The apartheid government can be heroes or villains. Anyone you can think of can be a hero or villain based on how you structure it. Because you're in control now in the present. He who controls the present controls the past. He who controls the past controls the future. 1984, explaining to you how the real world works and that history can be manufactured. V for Vendetta is an amazing movie. If you struggle with reading, go watch V for Vendetta with Hugo Weaving, produced by the Wachowskis now. Used to be with the Wachowski brothers. Then one became trans. Then the second one became trans. Now it's like the Wachowski sisters, Wachowskis, because who knows what they might be tomorrow. They did The Matrix. V for Vendetta. Watch The Matrix. Watch Equilibrium with Christian Bale and Taye Diggs. Yeah. These things are there for you. The media is annoying because they just make it too obvious. Like I said, loot. Be a mafia government. All governments are mafia, but put the people first. Vladimir Putin might be a mass murderer. Later on, he might be accused of crimes against humanity like Robert Mugabe. But you have to see that this guy is putting Russian people, his people first. Robert Mugabe tried to put his people first, but his people were not aligning to him. To be like, yes, of course, ZANU-PF and the cronies and the looting, sure. But he was saying, here's land. Here's good education, the best education on the continent. Go fly. Go fucking fly and be amazing. That's why even in South Africa now, some of the doctors we have, some of the best teachers we have are Zimbabweans. Because Mugabe made sure Uti isinkwa sabo was education. Zimbabweans in the UK making money, Zimbabweans somewhere else. Highly skilled, very knowledgeable, very literate. Land. You speak to people in Zim, they will tell you we have land, we're farming, yes, we were sanctioned, but Bob Mugabe, putting his people first. Have your leaders put your people first and you're clearly in the darkness. New dawn of dark, new dawn, Yamasim. Ramaphosa's a fucking goose. So then Cyril went and he signed deals, $8.5 billion and more, because they've been taking out lots of loans from COVID times to now. Signing deals. He's now probably at Davos at the World Economic Forum, bumbling more bullshit that he used to bumble during the family meetings that I fucking stopped watching because they used to gaslight me and piss me the fuck off. Ramaphosa. $8.5 billion. These guys are not loaning money to fundamentally build anything sustainable for the benefits of the people. Some of the money they loan out to bail out the SAPC, which is bloated and it's been overtaken by DSTV. Again, this ties in with my earlier conspiracy theory. You had a functioning SAPC, and as soon as Afrikaners lost power, magically they're building Mnet and pay TV, which is well functioning. and the SAPC seeing flames. You're like, "Oh, is there sabotage, my friend? Is there sabotage? I don't know, but it smells a little bit fishy, my friend. Some sabotage there." A lot of the debt was taken for consumption. It's like getting a credit card so you can buy groceries. And then after you've chowed those groceries, you shit them out. You're not getting a credit card so that you can start a business that can generate more profit than the interest you have to pay on that credit card. The loans we're taking are not development loans. How do we build South Africa to be a forward-thinking, forward-looking country with a plan? The African National Congress has no plan. The ANC has no plan. They have no plan. I cannot tell you if the Economic Freedom Fighters, the Democratic Alliance, the Patriotic Alliance, Action South Africa, I do not know if Inkatha Freedom, I don't know if they have a plan. What is our 10-year, 30-year, 50-year, 100-year plan as a nation? What is our wish to compete with the United Arab Emirates, to compete with Hong Kong and China, to compete with Japan? We've got a loser of a president talking about an imaginary smart city because these are nice fucking slogans they hear in their conferences. Same slogans they were probably hearing about e-toll gantries. We're going to have these toll gates where you don't even need people to stop. They probably thought they were so fucking dope. Bicycle lanes, useless because they visit Amsterdam. They're like, eco-friendly. We're going to ride bicycles and it's healthy. Oh, God, the parliament that don't even fucking know how to ride a bicycle. Are they seeing things and copying and pasting things that don't work for us here? When their focus should be putting the land in the hands of the people and upskilling the people so that they can farm the land for productive produce, so that they can farm commercial quality livestock for export, so that they have the skills to manufacture even the smallest things so that we can compete with the Vietnam, so we can compete with the Singapore, with the China, with the South Korea, with the Bangladesh, with the Sri Lanka, with the Pakistan, and export to the world and become a manufacturing hub where other countries want to come here and manufacture in South Africa and be like, we've got visionary leadership. Visionary. Something that we struggle with. Can blame the ANC all day. Something we struggle with in our own families. What is your family's 5-year plan? 10-year plan? Your family's 20-year plan? Or do you guys have a plan for festive 2023? To buy a 100 shooter? To buy a bodlela? Stockfella sabo gogo, khona kuzothengwa ama choice assorted, ne custard, no chili. You've got a 12-year plan, and even that plan is not proper because you hold your breath for a bonus and you still have to loan money from Mama Shonisa in December. Khona nizokwazi ukuchakadula nigroove. Nijabulela amapiano nokuthi hey ngeke ngivume ukuthi ompintsho bazoqashula unyaka. OKO nabo Black nabo Youngstana. Do you have a 5-year, 10-year plan for yourself? Never mind your family. It's 2023 now, and 5 years will be in 2028. Where will you be according to your plan? You don't have a plan. You're just going just with the wind, where the wind is blowing. Going to load shedding. No, go left. No, COVID. No, we're going here. No, tomorrow we go. Hey, must learn Mandarin. Hey. Bumbling about like idiots. Makes sense why the leadership of this country is so poor, because the citizens on an individual perspective are so poor. And I can get dragged. I'm happy to get dragged. Call the sellouts. It's fine because I know I'm liberating minds. Look to Oranje, an Afrikaner dorpie. They claim it's not racist. Mense van Oranje, asseblief. We know a lot of the people, they are fucking racist. You guys set that thing up because the ANC government came in and you were like, near fork. Swarte says no in government. We know, it's fine. But remove the emotions aside. There's visionary leadership in Oranje. They are building an autonomous independent state that currently is able to power the town for 12 out of 24 hours with solar energy. They've built their own schools. They've put their people to work. They've built their own homes. They are farming there to sell within SA and also export quality. Visionary leadership. Visionary leadership. Learn from them. I joined AfriForum because they're doing good work and I want to learn from them. They've built Soltech, an Afrikaner institutie for skills to learn how to do things with your hands. Something we desperately need that the ANC government has destroyed. The white Afrikaners said, let us build a skills institution for Afrikaans speaking people, not for white people as you guys fucking lie, because there are black and colored students there learning, and you're angry. You're angry that they're learning in Afrikaans. You want them to learn in English, a colonial language. Hypocrites. Build a fucking Zulu institution. Build a Sesotho institution and stop fucking around. You've got kings. Misu Zulu, Dalindyebo. Go sit with your kings and fundraise and build institutions in your native tongues. But you won't, because it's easier, like the same ANC government, to make excuses every single fucking day. The greatest form of load shedding and darkness is actually in our minds as citizens. We do not see the light within ourselves. Electricity is a luxury, by the way. Our forefathers 5-6 generations ago didn't have just, my grandmother, I used to visit as a youngster, used to visit her and her sister ekuvukeni naKwaHlathi, northern KZN. Sasikhanyisa ngelambu la paraffin. Sasikaka kwi long drop. Sasihamba siyolanda amanzi emfuleni. Sasehla khona imfula lapha kwaHlathi mawehla. Khona imfula sasihamba siyolanda amanzi ngalabo amabhodlela lamakhulu angazi noma 25 liters siqhuba ibhara. Electricity is actually and look, shout out to the ANC. The ANC electrified places that were not electrified. The ANC built roads where there were no roads. The ANC built homes, flushable toilets. Fuck, my grandmother's home used to have the bucket system. I used to shit in there with the yellow pages. For my 2000 that don't know, the yellow pages, what is the yellow pages today? So it's not Google. Where do you guys go to find people's numbers? I'm not even sure if there is such a place. But the yellow pages, if you're looking for someone's number, it was there. They used to deliver these thick books. Like you're doing laundry, a little bit soft for the booty, for the anus. And then you wipe, fuck it with bucket system. And then some families would obviously take soil and cover whatever. And then these guys would come with these, my truck or two, and come and pick up these buckets and give you guys new buckets. At my grandmother's sister's place, it was a long drop. Fucking scary, scary place to shit that. A long drop. I'd rather fucking shit in the veld. Shout out to the NC for building that. It was a great start. Nelson, Tabo, and the boys. But now they fucked everything up. Them, their entrepreneur friends who are always fucking cutting corners so that they can buy expensive cars, blow money on girls in Dubai, Ekonka, and fucking build baza homes in Limpopo and every other fucking place so they can boast about their mansions that also are falling apart because of poor workmanship. Some of these apartheid buildings, some of these colonial buildings, schools like Hilton College, schools like St. John's, St. George's Cathedral, shout out to Sir Herbert Baker. Some of those fucking buildings, boy, are standing firm like this. Fucking Real Makoya, Zambak like this. Ditol, Shiposh, Sunlight Green Bar Soap. Like this. But your house has already got cracks and the paint is, but didn't you build this thing last year? Why now? Hey, you built with, you didn't even use cement, you were using this redstone. Hey, baba. Weak. The furniture you guys use. The furniture that our grandmothers had. Still solid today. Real blank. Not this fucking cheap furniture you guys are importing from China. That looks like it can be chowed by termites. That looks like a fucking fire hazard. Yeah, baba. Let me stop there. The conversation I want us to have, speak about visionary leadership, is we need to learn as people how to do an audit of the power we are consuming in our homes. So where you can, this is a suggestion, and look, I know one sit down like this is not enough, so we need to try and have these conversations regularly. Hendrik van der Bijl was smart, but he didn't fucking invent fire. He wasn't inventing electricity. We are able to build our own energy and power. We have got the tools and the skills. It may cost some money. It may require us to go overseas, it may require us to import some skills and resources, but we can do it. With or without the government breaking the law or not. Not fucking waiting for Gwede Mantashe and Jeff Radebe to give us licenses. Fuck them for gatekeeping when we're in an energy crisis, just so that they can make profits and monopolize our misery. Learn from Hendrik van der Bijl Park. When you go there in the Vaal, near Vereniging and those places there, we need to do audits of the power in our home. The biggest consumer of electricity in most homes is the geyser. Generally accounts for about 40% of the electricity you're paying every month. That's if you're even paying your electricity, because a lot of South Africans don't, including big companies, government departments. But 40% is the geyser. So if you can get onto a solar geyser, great. If you can learn to wash from a little basin, that means you don't even need the geyser. You need little power. We're adjusting because we basically in a state of emergency. Get a smaller geyser, or have your Eskom geyser. Try and install a small geyser that uses solar, which is not going to be too expensive, some other mechanism. The other things that chow are usually things with elements. Kettle chows a lot of electricity. Your heater, if it's an electric heater, chows a lot of electricity. Your microwave chows a lot of electricity. Your fridge chows a lot of electricity. Those are the big boys. When there's load shedding and you're looking for alternative, those are the ones you're going to have to deal with last. So if you have a big fridge that chows Eskom, try and buy a small fridge, little bar fridge, and then keep your essentials that you don't want to go off in that small bar fridge. Connect it to Eskom, but make sure that when the power chucks, it jumps onto alternative because it won't chow that much. You don't really need a microwave. Get one of those blue, primer stove. Kona leshan is this Kadak, that blue gas vibe with the plates at the top. Get those things. It takes gas, but you can get one of those old school irons. My granny used to have that fucking real Makoya stove. The one where you put amalashe, you put an iron on the top, it warms up the whole house. There's a place to bake scones, namanyama keke. At the top, that stove. Today, those stoves, I think, are going for like 40,000 rand. Real Makoya stoves, boy. Get one of those old school stoves that you put on that thing so that aina, of which aina is not really important. So outside of this t-shirt I wear, I think they called the tech, sweat tech. There's these t-shirts that don't need to be ironed, and these pants, like exercising material. Don't need to iron that shit. Unless you still really a corporate shirt and a starch, you iron and a collar, I'm way fucking past that me. Use it for cooking, use it for warming up your food. You guys know it's food mezukudla ufaka ipotwe, ufaka amanzi, ufaka indishe ensimbi phakathi, ufake lokho kudla kwakho, ubile la kanje kube microwave yakho. As an example, those are the big ones. The smaller ones, of course, are your phone. If you have Wi-Fi, your Wi-Fi router, perhaps your TV, and then some plugs and lights. The lights one is the easiest. There's these load shedding bulbs. I think they were 100 rand when they came in. They've gone down to like 50 in certain places. They don't last too long, but they're not bad, you know, and hopefully the technology is going to get better if it's not already in China on its way here. So those load shedding light bulbs, they last for 2 to 4 hours depending. There's these rechargeable lamps at the game, macro, Chinese stores, Indian stores, which are the bomb. 250 for those. You charge those, they give you solid lights. Get a couple of those in your posi so you have light. Get maybe a small inverter with a car battery or something else for the TV, for the Wi-Fi router. Get mobile chargers, power banks. Charge those bad boys. Have like 5 of those so that when the power chucks, at least you can charge your phone. And look, if you don't need your router that's fiber or ADSL and you're using the mobile one, then you can charge it like a phone. So at least you've got a phone, you've got internet, you've got a television, you've got light, and then you can cook. And then obviously the sooner you can get to a gas heater, the better. Or have it as a backup. The sooner you can have a backup gas stove fully, the better. Let's do these orders. And then once we start understanding electricity generation, and once we've resolved our own homes, then we need to start coming together, like the guys at Orania and other progressive groups, and saying, okay, guys, our homes are fine. We're sorted now. We've got solar here, batteries there, this and that, gas, generators, whatever the case may be. How can we come up and create our own mini power plants? Whether we follow government regulation or not, they can go fuck themselves. They've failed us. A government that has failed you doesn't deserve to dictate to you. It's one of the reasons I believe in gun ownership. It cannot be that we've got a flimsy police service, we've got flimsy soldiers, and our government at any given time can fucking unleash these guys on us and they want to have a monopoly on weapons. Fuck that. The citizens must have guns and they must have advanced technological weapons. Go speak to the boy Ivor Ichikovitz, Paramount Group. Guys that are fucking manufacturing weapons. We need to manufacture our own weapons so that if government we'll tell them money is that's the power of the taxi industry. That's the power of the gangs and the drug lords in the Western Cape. Some of them like go Bedford View. Some of the guys there. That's their power. They've got guns. If you guys come for us, it's on nye. So you need that. But I was saying, once your government has failed you, schools, that's why we're doing home education. That's why we're doing private education. That's why we're doing online schooling. Because our government has failed. Our kids are not learning real skills. That's where we need to go. I'll end this video here. I think I've spoken enough. Haven't made a long video like this in a while. Penzo. Boza. Today's Sunday. Panel show tomorrow morning. Siyabangir. 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 Panel show. Siyabangir. Siyabangir. Thank you for all your support, guys. Let's have these conversations. So I didn't get a chance to read your comments. Luckily, this is Facebook. That's why I didn't do this on TikTok. TikTok doesn't save the videos. I'm going to save this video. I'm going to read through your comments when I get a chance and engage some of you. I want us to have conversations. If you studied electrical engineering, if you have some type of knowledge in generating power, uranium is one of the things I didn't speak about, and nuclear, oil, gas, especially some of the reserves that they're finding now, kinetic energy, which I think is highly underused, Nikola Tesla and the fact that he came up with the solution, or he discovered, I think other people had found it before him, solutions to create endless free energy using, I don't know these terms, man, but there's like electricity in the ground, you know. Some people have come up with certain systems using water, etc. Those things are there. The capitalists will never. They'll never fucking want us to have it because they want to control and enslave us. But we're in a tough time, and I think we can build a better futuristic world where people can be rich, wealthy, but humanity can still be okay. It can't be that wealth must only be at the expense of destroying humanity into complete oblivion. It's pathetic. We can do better. Yeah. Have a great evening. Take care of yourselves. If you've got load shedding, it's time to take a walk, take your candle, take your torch, and start drafting this alternative energy plan for your home, maybe for your community, and see how you can make it work. And then after that, start watching these YouTube videos, go on Wikipedia, understand how energy and electricity is generated, understand how solar panels work, the neutrons and the protons, understand gas, diesel, petrol, nuclear, uranium, etc. And then let's start having these intelligent conversations online and with each other. And hopefully as I travel the country this year, we can, let's say this week, let me start this coming week and start saying, look, I'm going to be at a McDonald's. Let's come together. Let's share a meal. Let's share conversations. You guys can donate to me a little bit of money that you have. Let's share knowledge and come up with solutions and become the leaders that we have always yearned for our families, for our communities, for this nation, for the continent, for the world. We don't have to wait for America, for Europe, for Asia. We are good enough. We are capable enough. So yeah. All right. That's the end of that. Cheers. Good night. I love you. Care about you. Take care of yourself.